to do my master's degree in Belgium, um, which was in KU Leuven, and they're present in this year's virtual fair as well. So if you have specific questions about Leuven, about KU Leuven in general, feel free to ask it later. And also, so many reminders, but last reminder, since I did my master's in intercultural mediations, I'm very particular with the effectiveness of communication. Since everything is happening virtually now, I'd like to make this session as interactive as possible, So I hope that the language won't be a hindrance for us to be, to enjoy and have fun with this session. So if, since I know that many of you are actually coming from different regions in the Philippines or even in other parts of the world, if you are more comfortable, for instance, to use Tagalog in giving your questions, don't hesitate. I'll be happy to answer it in Tagalog or Taglish. Or if you want to practice French or Portuguese, I can do so as well. So I hope language won't be a barrier, okay? So before to proceed with my presentation, I would like to present a short video. So, as a teaser, so you will get a general picture of what to expect once you go to Belgium to study. I hope it works. Enjoy. If I can't move ahead, speed is too high, but I can follow your stride. Love's not a race. I don't want to bet it, don't want to lose you. All right. I hope you enjoyed the film. I think that's convincing enough, to go to Belgium. Nah? If not, then let's go to my presentation. I'll try my best to convince you more why Belgium is the place to be. So, okay, let me go to my slides now. All right. So well, it's nice if I can actually hear the audience, but now that you're not here, then I'll be the audience too. So my question is actually, what are the first things that actually come to mind when you hear the word Belgium or Belgian, And I think most of you will answer these. Yeah. So I think many I will hear, yeah, I see I think everyone got it correctly in the chat. I'm looking at the chat room. So yeah, you're pretty much right. When you hear about the word Belgium or Belgian, it's always Belgian beers, waffles, chocolates, and I'm sorry, it's Belgian fries, not French fries. And of course, Smurfs. Smurfs are actually Belgians. They're not Americans. So, but in today's presentation, you will get to know more about Belgium apart from these, good and delicious stuff. It's not just about beers, chocolates, waffles, or the Smurfs. It's more beyond that. In fact, Belgium is also known because of its first class, excellent universities. In fact, just a little trivia, several Belgian universities appear in the top 200 of international rankings, including the Reuters for Europe's most innovative universities, which is topped by a Belgian university, and which is my alma mater, KU Leuven. And KU Leuven is also, just a little trivia, it's one of the oldest, not one, it's the oldest Belgian university, which was founded in 1425. So, you can get a chance to meet a representative from them in the virtual booth. So yeah. Now that we're talking about the higher education landscape in Belgium, I'd like to give you briefly, let me go through it there. Okay, so interestingly, for me, there are actually quite a few points that are similar between the Philippines and Belgium. I would say, okay, let's start with the size. Okay, this is not similar. This is there's a huge difference with this information. So just to give you a general picture of how small or big the Belgium is, Philippines, of course, you should know that our surface area is 300,000 square kilometer, and Belgium is just around 30,000 plus. So it's quite small, but it has a lot to offer. So currently, the population is around 11 million. And I'm highlighting here the capital, of course, is Brussels. The reason why I'm highlighting it here, because I think many of you are familiar that when you hear Brussels, it means that it's a capital where you can find almost all international headquarters. For example, the European Union or the UN agencies or NATO, for instance. And a little trivia, Brussels also houses the world's largest press communities or the media, and it is the city with the second most number of diplomats globally. So exciting, right? Though there's quite a big difference in terms of size between the Philippines and Belgium, I would say that there is quite some good point in terms of similarity. I would say that both countries are actually countries of region. Okay. These are important points to remember, because it will be useful once we discuss the higher education landscape in Belgium. So, in Belgium, there are actually it's a federal state made up of 3 regions and 3 communities, as you can see in my picture here. I hope you are seeing it. So let's discuss first the 3 regions. So as you can see with my points, I hope it's clear. It's divided into the Flemish region, which is in the northern part, the Walloon region, the southern part, and of course the capital, Brussels. Well, you can find Brussels. The regions, they are responsible for anything that is related to territorial issues, which is about public works, about agriculture, about employment, about the environment, or in general, the country planning. That's the role of the regions. On the other hand, there are also, like the Philippines, Belgium is also multilingual. It has 3 official languages, which is Flemish or the Belgian Dutch, French, and German. So because of its multiculturalism and multilingual, because of its multilingual aspect, so It has also three communities which are responsible for education, for culture, for youth support, and certain aspects of health policy. So the reason why I'm discussing this is because, oops, okay, now you can get the picture of, so the majority are actually speaking in Dutch or Flemish and French, and there's a minority in the right part, where people are speaking in German. So in terms of higher education in Belgium, it's actually divided into two, where into two communities. So that's going to be the Flemish community, the universities in the Flemish community, and the universities in the French community. So when I say higher education, it's for masters, for doctorate, and for postdoc. So let's go first with the Flemish community. There. So it's in the northern part. So if you wanted to study in these universities, so you already know that majority of the people in that area are speaking in Dutch, in Flemish. Here are the list of universities, except for the University of Hasselt. All four are actually present today. So after this presentation, feel free to visit their booths and discover what are the available opportunities for you. And also, in addition to that, in addition to the 5 universities, in the Flemish community, there are also 13 university colleges offering a wide variety of programs entirely taught in English. So I suggest you visit the links provided here. If you cannot, you can take a screenshot, but if not, you can also download this brochure in the embassy virtual booth later. Now, with the French community, here are the list of the universities. There are 6. Unfortunately, no one is present in this virtual fair. However, feel free to visit the link here as well, and you will find all the available study programs for you. And in addition to university colleges, in the French community, there are also College of Arts, which of course, from the word itself, it's the colleges catering to students who are interested in the arts. Okay, now that we know that higher education in Belgium is regulated by the communities, meaning language is an important factor. Now you're gonna ask me, how can I enroll? So I have 3 points here to make it easier. So first, of course, is the language requirement. So you're gonna ask me, I don't speak French, I don't speak Dutch. How can I enroll in a Belgian university? Good news is because there are actually a lot of programs taught in English. And one of the minimum, actually not one, it's the main requirement is that you have to have a level at least B2. And usually it is demonstrated through a certificate released by TOEFL or IELTS. However, I would say, based on my experience, it's not always the case, because there are some programs or faculty or even university who accept a certain certificate released by the university from where you got your bachelor's degree, saying that the medium of teaching in the Philippines, since English is one of the official languages in the Philippines, just a certificate that you learned your bachelor's degree almost entirely in English, and some coordinators are accepting such documents. So I suggest ask first before you take TOEFL or IELTS, because it's not that cheap. So maybe there might be exceptions for you, since English is already well spoken here in the Philippines, so you might be exempted. So I suggest always inquire before you do the requirement. Next is, of course, diploma. You won't be able to enroll in hold on. You won't be able to enroll in a Belgian university for graduate studies if you are not yet done with your bachelor's degree. And it's always not automatically recognized by the Flemish or the French community. So you have to inquire to the faculty, to the program, if what are the procedures needed for you to be able to certify the bachelor's degree you obtained in the Philippines or outside Belgium in general. And lastly, you have to be mindful also of the deadlines, because there are two terms. Of course, it's the first quarter is in um, from September to January. The second quarter is February to June. There is actually a third quarter, but only if you did not pass the first two quarters. So that's going to be your like summer school here in the Philippines. But basically, these are the two terms. So if you wish to apply as a regular student, then you have to be already preparing your admission request by January, and January until April. That's the period. Um, and it's going to be different when you apply for a scholarship, which I will discuss later. And I think I'm running out of time. Okay, I'm briefly going to discuss how to apply. Okay, so basically, I mean, at the end of the day, you still have to inquire, depending on the program that you're applying for, because sometimes there are programs, for instance, medicine or dentistry, that you have to take an entrance exam, or like fields in the arts, for instance. But there are some that you don't have to take an entrance exam at all. So you just have to fill out the application form. So you have to ask, but this is the general picture of what you have to prepare. So you have to know which institution, which part of Belgium, if it's in the north or the south. You have to know all the admissions requests, the documents that you have to submit, which is, of course, part of it is the diploma, your passport, your birth certificate, and all other requirements. Sometimes you have to prove your interest, so you have to submit a covering letter, and then once you submit it, and expect until maybe around 4 weeks for you to be able to get the result, and then you have to apply for the visa. As easy as that. Now, to give you a general picture of how much it is if you're going to pursue graduate studies in Belgium, so that's ranging in here, you can see in the screen, around 800 euros until 4,000 euros. Now, you're going to ask me, I don't have the means to go to pay for these. I have good news. We have scholarships. Most Belgian universities are actually very actively participating in the Erasmus Plus program, funded by the European Commission. So I suggest go to their booth today, so you know which program or the universities of Belgium are participating in. However, in addition to that, this is another good news for Filipinos. Belgium, through the Belgian Development Cooperation, there are two types of major scholarships specifically targeted for students coming from developing countries, and Philippines is included. So the reason why I said it's good news, with these two scholarships, you have, I think, more chance to get it, because I mean, you're not competing with the whole world, you know. I mean, these are already done. These are prepared, you know, specifically for students like us. So Vlier has a booth today, so feel free to talk to the representative. I hope the live chat is available now, so you can ask what are the available programs. If not, I suggest to take note of the websites indicated here, so you can explore, because there are a limited number of programs offered as well, in which field. So I hope you find something interesting there. And like I said, with the deadline, since you're applying as a scholar, for, I think the same for Erasmus, for Vlier and Aris, you have to already start preparing for all the documents starting this month or until November, and the submission is usually until end of January. The reason why it's earlier than the regular students, it's because you have to submit extra documents, because you're applying as a scholar. So you have to prove that you're, you know, the most deserving student. So I suggest visit now, especially with Aris. I just recently saw their website. It's already open. So grab the opportunity, Filipinos like us. All right. So to give you a general preview of the cost of living. So that's the total. Around you will need around 1,000 euros monthly, but you don't have to worry. Well, seriously, I can attest that your expenses will be pretty much around like this amount, but you can get less if you cook at home. Like me, I used to cook at home when I was still a student because I always miss Filipino food. But if not, it's okay as well because you will with Vleer and Aris scholarships, you will be getting 1,150 euros for scholarships. So which is you still have an excess amount of if you're targeting like 1,000 euros for your monthly expenses and you have access to travel. Yeah, and then maybe there are questions also if you can work while studying. For non-EU nationals like Filipinos, you actually have to be full-time students for you to be able to get a student visa. However, there are some exceptions that you are allowed to work depending on the agreement between the employer. I experienced it myself as well. So in my case, for instance, you are only allowed to work in a very limited number of hours. For instance, 20 hours in a week. So it depends. You have to communicate with the employer and with your coordinator if it's allowed with your program. So, but it's allowed. There are some exceptions. All right, running out of time. Now we have to wrap up. Now, I hope I was able to convince you a bit more, even though it's really quick. So here are my main points why you have to consider Belgium as a place to study. Of course, with excellent universities who have been there for since very long time, so it has a long-standing tradition of education and research. It has also excellent universities with ample choice for degree programs in English, which we are, we're very fluent in English, so it won't be a problem. And if you want to study languages, Belgium is also the place, since you can study in French and Dutch and other languages. And like I said, it's very well located since you have Brussels as your capital, and with all the very diverse and very multilingual and multicultural elements that Belgium has to offer, then I think as you would expect, your experience as a student in the country will be very rich, very well-rounded. In fact, 20% of the students enrolled in higher education are international. And apart from that, 20% of the professors are actually international as well. So it's very, very diverse. All right. So I think you might have questions about visa. I suggest go to our booth so you will know the emails that you have to contact or the websites that you have to visit. And just a reminder that we have several representatives from different Belgian institutions, plus some scholarships. So feel free to visit us until 8 p.m. And I hope the live chat is now working. So feel free to interact with us. There will be representatives. And lastly, there you go, the important links, which if you cannot write it down or take a screenshot, don't worry, just go to the embassy virtual booth and you'll be able to download everything that I discussed here. So I'm sorry, I think I won't be able to answer all the questions, but I'll still be available until 8 p.m. Behind the embassy virtual booth. Go there and I'll be happy to answer all your questions. Thank you so much and stay safe and healthy.